Welcome to Pikes on Pike, a podcast where the two Pike sisters discuss the works of young adult horror author Christopher Pike. Hi, Bree.
Hi, Ash. How's it going?
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Pikes on Pike, COVID-19 edition. Although my husband...
Pikes on Pike, under quarantine. Special edition episode.
We hope you're all... We hope you're all safe. Homebound, washing your hands,
sick.
Not
hope
sick.
Hope that your friends aren't sick. Hope that you're practicing social distancing, because if you're not, you're going to be the reason we all die.
Right, so stay at home, everybody.
Stay the fuck at home.
Stay the fuck at home. Hashtag go.
At any rate, this public service announcement has been brought to you by the sixth book,
Yep.
chronologically speaking, of Christopher Pike, called Gimme A Kiss, which is a very misleading title given what's on the cover.
We were speaking earlier that the entire cover is somewhat misleading, but we'll get to that. Yeah, it's even the flavor text, if that's what the correct term is, the little teaser on the front of the book is even, when I read it last week when we were teasing this book, well, it wasn't last week, last episode, I guess. The sweetest words of love are often the deadliest. It's like, okay. I mean, I don't know if...
I feel like, given what happens in the book, the cover would have been more appropriate to be, like, perhaps a journal page. Or perhaps...
Yeah.
Literally anything else. But instead, because, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but, you know, the cover of the Archway paperback that Bree and I both have is of the main character, presumably, in the water. As Bree and one of our listeners evidently pointed out, she is fucking dry from the waist up. So when she ended up in the water, she evidently bobbed quite a bit. But they're on this fucking boat. But they're on the boat in the book for maybe, three or four pages? So the boat doesn't really factor in at all.
Like half a chapter, maybe. And it's not like the chapters in this book are long. Hell, the book's only 152 pages, so...
It's amazing.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty sure. I would just like to say up front, though, because I think sometimes we get to talking about these, and people listening to us are probably like, so what did you actually think of it? I did enjoy this. I felt it was highly entertaining. It was just a wild flippin' ride. Like, I think Ash said last time when we talked about Spellbound that there was a lot going on in that book. This book is like, there's a lot going on, and also you think that you have a pretty good handle on where the story is going, especially because it is only 150 some odd pages long. So, you know, you start reading it and you're like, okay. And it's also YA and it's teen fiction. So, you know, maybe I shouldn't have made the assumption that I knew what was going to happen. But you get to about, I'd say probably about the middle, about halfway through. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is not going the way that I thought it was going to. And then it just gets increasingly stranger as it goes. So it was fun to read it. I read it in a night, but it was unexpected. And I didn't remember,
to say the least.
Yeah, and I didn't remember much of this one.
And I was like, what the fuck did I just read?
Yeah.
There's an incident with a bunny. Her beloved pet bunny. That lasts for like 3 pages, and then we don't fucking hear anything about that bunny again.
I know.
We never meet any parents except for Alice's dad, which we'll get to. Fucking creep alert.
Oh, creeper.
This book, we were just talking about this before we started recording, but this book took a hard left several times.
Yeah.
And it also kind of ends in such a way that it's not unsatisfying, but you do get to the end and you're like, first of all, what the hell just happened? Yeah. Secondly, spoiler alert, no epilogue.
There's no epilogue.
There's no epilogue.
I know.
Who rushed you, Christopher Pike? Who rushed you?
Right?
I want to know.
I
demand
too.
An epilogue because I feel like there's a lot that needs to be explained after like the last 10 pages. But we don't get the satisfaction of that.
No, we don't. And you know what? I wondered, when I got to this, I noticed that immediately. And I was like, well, maybe he's trying something new. And so when I came up to the space where I record, I took a look at Scavenger Hunt, which is what we're talking about next time. And we can tease that at the end. But I just skipped to the back. I didn't read anything, but I just wanted to see if there was an epilogue. So I was like, maybe we're turning a new leaf. But no, there's one. There's a fairly substantial one in Scavenger Hunt in terms of pages. So maybe this was just... But maybe he was under pressure because we were talking about this and this was 1988 too, and so was the previous one.
And that was a banner year for him.
Right.
Well, and then there's also the series, Final Friends?
Yeah.
And he published the first of the Final Friends book in 1988 too, so he was just
busy
churning them out.
Yeah.
So maybe this was the last one of 1988.
Maybe.
And he was just like, I have to get this shit written.
Right.
Epilogue be damned.
Be damned. Yeah. Yeah. And if any book could have used an epilogue,
it's certainly this one.
It's this one. But that's okay. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was no tachyon web.
And it was no. This book was legit fun. I mean, it was.
I did like this one.
Yeah, it was just.
Tachyon web is just going to be. Yeah. I don't even know.
I mean, everybody's got one. Everybody's got one or two. I feel like for Stephen King, it was Cujo. Don't come for me, Stephen King. Everybody's got one or two. Yeah, that just doesn't really.
It's okay.
It's
when
fine.
You're that prolific, who gives a fuck? And
you're
can
allowed.
Say the same thing about Christopher Pike and Stephen King. When you're putting out more than one book a year. You know what? If some of them are total horseshit, who cares?
You got it.
Who cares?
You do you.
They're all making more money than me anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So bully for you, friends. No sarcasm meant whatsoever.
No.
But speaking of nonsensical covers.
Yes.
In the interest of our, I guess the pattern that we've developed over our less than 10 episodes. Bree and I both have the Archway paperback, which we just described, which is probably anyone who has the first round of these is probably going to have that one, because that was the one that's the cover that was published with the first run in 1988. Yeah. Then, Bree, I don't know if you looked at any of these.
I didn't. You'll have to tell me about them. I didn't.
But, so first of all, hotter children's books did not deliver this time. We were talking about them in the last episode. Did not deliver. That was the one, listeners, if you recall, with Spellbound. Hotter children's books always takes a very, there's one focal point on their covers, right? And they pick one thing in the book, and that is what they put on the cover. And then they twist it in a way to make it look frightening. So with Last Act, it was the one of the tragedy comedy masks, all bloodied up and menacing looking, and then with Spellbound, there was just the fucking vulture.
Oh, the vulture. Yeah.
Ooh. Hotter children's books this time just went very literal, and it's just a black cover with a lipstick kiss mark on it.
Okay.
Which also doesn't really convey at all what's about to happen in this book. At least... While the sailboat and the sailing thing and the woman in the Gap t-shirt in the water is not really a good indicator of what happens in the book, I feel like Hotter Children's did not deliver. But you know who did? These fucking people.
Oh boy. I'm ready.
So there was another edition that Archway put out in 1991.
Okay.
And these are the ones that tend to look kind of Gatsby-esque.
Okay.
This one's a little bit real looking. There is a fire. There is someone floundering in the water.
Okay.
There is a snake for some reason.
Why?
Why is there a snake?
Why is there a snake?
Someone's holding someone else. The little subtitle is the same. That one's kind of wild. That one makes me think of Carrie meets Sweet Valley High.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the fire. And then there was another one. Oh, these fucking people. Lightning books.
Oh, lightning. I love lightning.
Lightning never disappoints. And this one's a little bit more on the nose. The focal point is just someone's terrified face wearing scuba goggles.
Yeah.
Like you do. And there is a house on fire and a giant what appears to be a yacht. Which would make more sense given what happens in this story. On
Right.
the front of the Archway paperback, we have, for some reason, this boat looks like the fucking Brig Niagara. The one on the Lightning book looks a little bit more like an actual, like, large sailing
like
yacht.
a sailboat.
Which is probably what they would have had access to, given what happens. I'm getting ahead. But those are the covers. And, dear sibling.
Yes.
Would you like to take our listeners into a plot summary?
I would.
I can't wait.
Although, yeah, this, oh, Lord. I'm going to do my best, everybody. Because I've been real proud of my succinct and concise plot summaries, but this is a real twisty-turny plot.
And multiple viewpoints, so it's important to get that out of the way. This is the...
Yeah.
Is this the first book?
Yeah.
Well Spellbound had two different narrators.
And so did Weekend. But this is, it's not so much the multiple points of view. It's the, I mean, yes, that's a thing. But we have seen him do that before. But it's also the kind of flashing forward and back, which eventually catches us up to present. So, like, the timeline, like, because we open with, Lieutenant Fisher interviewing Alice, and then the reader gets caught up on everything that's happened over the last this all happened in true Christopher Pike sort of fashion. This entire story happens over the course of like one weekend, which I feel like is kind of basically what we've been doing for the last couple books. I mean, Spellbound was a little bit longer, but like this story is compressed in so many different ways, but I feel like the timeline is a little weird because he's learning about some things and, sort of after the fact. And then it kind of catches us up to what's going on. But anyway, okay, well, I'm going to give it my best shot. So here we go. So, let me just tell you real quick who we have here. And then if Ashley wants to throw in anything about these people, and then I'll attempt to tell you what happens in this crazy book. So we have Jane Retton and Alice Palmer and Sharon Less and Kirk Donner. And those are like the primary people, the people we hear the most about. Jane is our
character list is pretty small.
Yeah, so. Jane is our protagonist, and then Alice and Sharon are her buddies, and then Kirk is her boyfriend, and then Patty Brain, who's
an asshole.
Yeah, she's the antagonist. And then Dr. Palmer, who is Alice Palmer's father, and then Lieutenant Fisher, who's the cop. And then I also want to give a shout out, mostly because I want to talk about him a little bit later, to Mr. Pan, because he has one hell of a what I would call guidance counselor intervention with Jane at the start of this book.
You'll read it and you'll go, how does this guy still have a job?
Exactly.
How has this guy not had the shit suit out of him?
Right.
What the hell? He kind of reminded me of a more, do you watch Bob's Burgers?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of Mr. Frond.
Yes!
Not in a good, not in an endearing way. Like, at least Mr. Frond has some, like, endearing qualities.
He
like,
does.
He means well.
He
just
does.
kind of,
Yeah.
Mr. Pan is a little...
Why are all the adult men in this book so goddamn creepy? I'm just throwing it out there right now.
I wonder if Christopher Pike is inserting his own narrative here, and maybe he's...
I don't know.
Maybe that's his experience with the adult men in his life. I don't know.
This book,
Christopher Pike.
Yeah, this book, there's two doozies. But anyway, so those are our people. And then this is what happens. So this is my this is my best shot. So Jane, we meet Jane. Jane's our protagonist. Jane is dating Kirk, who used to date Alice. So that's an important sort of plot point.
Not complicated at all.
I mean, we start out with all this, folks. That's the other thing. Like, that's where we start. So Jane's dating Kirk. Kirk used to date Alice. They all go to high school together. And what ends up happening is they all go to school one day. It's a normal day. Alice's dad has decided to rent a sailboat. He's a dentist and he has a lot of money. And he's decided to rent a sailboat and take a group of kids out sailing from their high school that coming weekend. And so that's kind of the overarching event that everybody's talking about at school, and everybody's excited. And Jane wants to invite Kirk, even though she's afraid to talk to Alice about it because she doesn't know if Alice is going to be cool with it. And it's also important to mention that Alice, Sharon, and Jane all work part-time at Dr. Palmer's dental office. So there's just a lot of togetherness, which is kind of important, I think. And so they all go to school. And what we learn about Jane early on is that she keeps this diary. And what we learn also early on about Jane is that she lies in her diary. Which is
more of like a fantasy diary. And
it's
not supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a today diary. I did, like a Doogie Howser MD kind of diary. It's like it's kind of just like, it's like a journal. I mean, that's how I sort of, interpreted it. So she writes this and we should definitely read some of this, but she writes this very, sort of long and descriptive entry about her relationship with Kirk. And in it, she alludes to the fact that she's lost her virginity. And
ooh.
Yeah, right? And okay, well, let me just get through the plot and then So this book, this diary or journal, or however you would like to phrase it, is just a spiral-bound notebook, so it looks like all of our other notebooks. So somehow, and you can probably see where this is going, it winds up in her school bag, which winds up with her at school. And she's in homeroom with Patty Brain, who is sort of her arch nemesis because she wrote a kind of not great review of Patty's cheerleading, or the cheerleaders, of which Patty is a part of, in the school newspaper. And so they have a bit of an altercation. And so, again, you can probably see where this is going. Photocopies of that diary entry wind up circulating all over school later that day. And Jane is, like, humiliated. And it doesn't help the fact that Patty comes right out and admits that she did it because she is, the worst. And then Jane confronts Kirk, and that doesn't go as well as she had hoped because Kirk isn't that bright, and also teenagers. So that's basically like the first part of the summary. And then basically what happens is Jane concocts this admittedly like bananas plan to get revenge against everybody at the school because she's been humiliated.
But not before she considers just outright murdering them.
She does. I mean, we should probably... I've marked a couple places where we should maybe read just little snippets to the audience because, man, oh man, there's some flipping gold in this book. But she goes through the whole stage of like, should I poison them? Should I, like, she is an intense person. And basically she concocts this idea that she's going to fake her own death. And she sees the sailing trip as a chance to do that because Jane, one of Jane's hobbies and something that she's good at is she's a scuba diver. And so I'm going to kind of skip along here, but safe to say she pulls her plan off, which is kind of amazing, to be quite honest. And everything goes according to plan as far as she knows. Like, she pulls the plan off, and she plans to rendezvous at the cabin that Sharon's parents have in the mountains. And so Sharon is in on this plan. And so Jane pretends, she basically creates an altercation. She throws herself off the end of the boat. She gets her scuba gear. We can talk about this more in depth later. She gets to the cabin. It is kind of fascinating the way he writes it.
It's really just all so amazing.
It is really amazing. I mean, I was actually kind of impressed. She gets to the cabin and everything is, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's important. As far as she knows, everything is legit. And so she gets there and she falls asleep. And when she wakes up, that's sort of when the second half of the book starts. And as you can probably guess, everything just completely goes to shit. So Kirk dove in after her and ends up drowning, which I know that's what the news reports are saying. So he's dead. And so this just sends her off into an entire spiral. And then she realizes that while she's at the cabin, that somebody is shooting at her. Like, she's in the cabin all the lights go out, there's no phone or whatever, and then there are shots. And so she realizes that somebody is trying to kill her. And that essentially takes us through the second half of the book. And her drowning / missing in action / potential kind of murder victim is what Lieutenant Fisher is investigating. And he's not investigating all that at once because he's kind of figuring all this out as the reader is figuring it out because he's interviewing Alice. And so at the end of the book, we find out what actually happened to Kirk. Spoiler alert, he didn't drown. We find out, well, he did, but he didn't do it just by himself. Alice did it. Yeah, Alice. I mean, he would have been okay. Yeah, she put laughing gas in his freaking scuba tank.
Because she's a fucking psycho.
Because she's psycho. So as you can probably tell from our little aside there, Alice is our murderer. And so she and Jane have the final confrontation, and then that ends the story, basically. We'll talk a little bit more about the ending, but that's like the last climactic moment. And then we get no epilogue. And so that's the arc of the book. And even just listening to myself summarize that as well as I could, that is the most...
What the fuck just happened?
It is the most ridiculous thing. But so entertaining. Like, so entertaining. And some really interesting scenes. Some really interesting scenes. But yes, that is the general gist of the book.
I did my best. It any better. I mean,
yeah, I did my best. It's tricky. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. So, firstly, Jane is dating one of her best friend's ex-boyfriends.
Yeah.
Which
is never good.
Well,
not in Christopher Pike
It's
land.
probably not good in high school. I feel like, I don't want to, generalize here, but I feel like it's a safe thing to say that it's just not a good idea if you're in high school and they've only been broken up for, a month.
Yeah, and we don't know what happened between the two of them, but we get the distinct impression that it probably wasn't great, because Alice doesn't want to talk about
it.
Yeah,
fucking freak show here. Freak show dentist. Basically did not approve of Kirk and, planted some very unhealthy ideas in Alice's mind about what things can happen when you are intimate with someone.
Yes.
Which we'll get to.
Yes.
Barely intimate, but whatever.
Right.
It's fine. So there's that. And so we kind of start off already on a rocky boat, so to speak, no pun intended, given the fucking cover, that, Jane's already kind of I don't want Alice to feel weird about this, but he asked me out.
Yeah.
And of course I'm, 17 years old and I don't fucking know any better, so of course I said yes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird, and Alice is insistent that it's fine, blah blah blah. So there's that whole thing. But I mean, let's be honest, people. When you pick this book up and you start reading it, I mean, maybe it was just me. That Alice is the actual antagonist here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hate kind of defaulting to that hell hath no fury trope, but at the same time, it's kind of really? I don't think I think Alice is playing a little bit too innocent here overall. Especially when the notebook goes missing.
She's too calm. Even when Lieutenant Fisher is, and I think Fisher suspects her right off the bat too. I mean, I think that's part of the reason.
Cop would have.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason.
These two podcasters did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he interrogates her for so long. I mean, they make a big deal out of the fact that the captain keeps Dr. Palmer down in the cafeteria forever. But I think that, she's just too calm. Through the whole thing, even after they find the diary, she's just it'll be okay. And I'm like, dude, this is not...
Whereas, Sharon reacted in a much more appropriate way, which is, oh, fuck.
Right! Which one would? That's a big deal. Yeah, and Alice is just and she's just calm through the whole thing. Everything about her from start to finish with this book. She's just very, very chill. I mean, except at the very end when she gets all been out of shape.
She goes fucking Fatal Attraction.
Right, when she's like, oh, my life was ruined, except it wasn't. So
Except it actually wasn't.
Yeah, except it wasn't.
I can't wait to talk about that, because my god, I got to the end and I was expecting some kind of,
something
wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Which I know is how he built it up. So, the whole point is that Alice is really innocent, right?
Yeah,
she's got an overly attentive father who is probably, low-key, at least emotionally abusing her.
Yeah.
And, Alice is his little angel, and they go to church, and Alice is very innocent, very pure. She's definitely, if we're going back to tropes, the virgin. And I forget where I was even going with that. But, you get to the end, and you're just kind of so I get it, but, I'm expecting this, thing to be just so wrong, and then it's just my god, it's just that we don't have any good sex education in this country, isn't it?
Well, I actually thought that, I think that's a really good point, and I had written this in my notes. I actually thought that the whole thing with this book, and I wanted to mention it because I want us to kind of be on the lookout for it in future books. I feel like sex in this book is a lot more of a thing. Sort of been an undercurrent in the other books. It's always been there, because I mean,
no, but
duh.
It's outright, it's in your fucking face.
Yeah, we start this book with very quickly with Jane kind of ruminating on her relationship with Kirk, and then we get right into that diary entry. And then that's the thing that kind of pushes the whole plot along. And the other thing is, the main characterization of Patty Brain, other than that she's an asshole, is also, and forgive me,
slut.
But that she's a slut. Yeah, which whatever. But Alice makes this whole thing, it makes this whole point, because Patty's at the police station too, and she comes on to the detective, and Alice makes this whole point of or the lieutenant, I'm sorry, of saying she's dirty and all this kind of stuff. And so I feel like sex is a big...
She's loose.
Right. And so I feel like it's this whole thing with the idea of sex and a possible STD, even though that's not really it, but you know what I mean? This is the fear. Is an interesting, I think that's an interesting thing that he's playing with. Because I feel like sex is maybe, I wonder if it's going to keep becoming maybe more prominent, because I never saw it in any of the other books as a major kind of plot element, but it definitely is in this one.
It's definitely a thing in teenage lives, right? And this is 1988.
Yeah,
It's not 1950. So
yeah, totally. Yeah,
so it makes sense that he's kind of dabbling in the area, so to speak. But all I kept thinking was, with the realization with Alice and the motivation behind everything, which we will get to, listeners, I just don't want to spoil it too early. It really, I was kind of this was, again, written in 1988. And how many public schools had an actual, even remotely robust sexual education program?
Oh, yeah.
Probably not very many.
Yeah. But yeah, yes. So I do agree. This is very topical, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't. I think it's cool. I thought as a premise, it was actually very progressive. I just think it's interesting because we haven't seen it front and center like this before. Right. So I just wonder if that's going to keep popping up or what. We'll see.
I'm sure it will. I don't really see how it can't.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
Anyway.
Yeah, but it is a cause for a lot of flippin' angst. I think, again, and we spoke a little bit about this before, but I think he does a very good job of taking a fear that a teenager would have, which is very normal and healthy, which is, oh my God, what would happen if people read my diary in a very public way, right? And then he takes it and he kind of makes it this entire plot, basically, which is...
the shame.
Right.
Just think about the shame and not even just the shame that you're keeping a fake diary and you know that everything's fake, but Jane makes a point of saying to multiple people, right up until the end almost, that she didn't write that diary because she is so, or write that entry anyway, because she is so ashamed of what she put on the paper, which was just a very simple fantasy.
Yeah.
Really.
Right.
But just the shame that goes with it. And then the way the adults around her handle it, I can kind of see, again,
oh,
I'm
totally,
not condoning faking your death to get back at people, but I can kind of see why she went off the deep end, because, again, think about how shameful sex is a subject for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Of any background, of any gender, of anything, and now you've just kind of compacted it down into this just horror story.
Right.
And then you set it on a sailboat.
Right. Well, and all the adults around her, for the most part, are incompetent, with the exception of Lieutenant Fisher, who she hasn't met yet, and
but
won't
who is closer to their age. He's described as being younger. So, and by closer, I mean closer to their age than their parents are.
Right. Right. Right.
But that's really, like Alice's father again is a fucking freak show. Mr. Pan is another freak show.
Yeah.
We don't see Sharon's parents. We don't see Alice's parents. They are, Jane's parents. They are conveniently absent. Same thing with Kirk and Patty's parents. Although Patty's parents show up to the police station with her with a lawyer. But that's really only to kind of emphasize that she comes from money.
Which is that class thing again. Because Alice has also got money.
I'll kind of be curious to know if Pike continues on this kind of thread of the untrustworthy adult.
Yeah.
Because we haven't yet really to meet any sort of like parent figure, especially that
parents
really
no.
Yeah, that is worth anything. I mean, I don't know if he does that on purpose. To be maybe more identifiable with the reader, or if it's because,
Right. Yeah, all the parents are deficient in some way. Like, Melanie's dad is a good guy, but he's absent. He's a trucker. And her mom was a waste. And Lena and Robin's parents, Mr. Carlton he loved his daughters, but he was a jerk. I mean, he was ruthless. He was like a,
Well, he loved his daughters, but he was rich.
Right. So. And in Slumber Party, like, Nell and Celeste's parents are MIA. Like, there are no adults in that. I mean, there are no parents in that. And then in Spellbound, those kids' parents are, like, seemingly just running their hardware store the entire time. So, yeah, the parents aren't really... But Jane makes a point of saying that her parents are out camping in the middle of nowhere, which is perfect for her plan, because by the time anybody realizes what's going on, she'll be back. Like, she will just walk into the house and be like,
Can you just fucking imagine, though?
No,
being her
I
parents?
can't. No.
And especially with the way the book ended, just coming home and being like, the fuck?
I know, right?
What happened?
We just wanted to go away for the weekend.
You leapt off a yacht and
what about Sharon's poor parents? They went out of town, their damn house burned down, and their kid was
their daughter's dead. Yeah,
right.
That's
oh
god.
Jesus. Anyway, watch your kids, folks.
This book is wild.
Yeah, it really is.
And listen to your kids too.
Yeah.
Like, I think that might be the point. Like, we talk about this. I'm taking a different fork in the road very briefly, though. But when we look at the book It by Stephen King, and we talk about how the adults are just completely deficient, like, that's a theme in a lot of books for a lot of reasons, because, how many people feel like they can't communicate with their parents, and how many teenagers or children feel like they can't tell their parents shit because they don't believe them. So I'll be curious to see if he continues to explore that theme in a more... detailed way, because right now it's just because they're mostly just not around. They don't know what's going on because they're just not here.
Yeah.
But I'll be curious to see if he kind of explores that a little bit. And there have been helicopters flying around my neighborhood all day, and it makes me worried that there's like a COVID-19 outbreak of zombies or something.
Yeah. I wanted to say that I found Jane to be, like, the epitome of, like, the survivor sort of archetype, I guess. I understand that her revenge plot is questionable at best, but she does but she does pull it off, which is impressive, because it takes quite a bit of endurance. And I think he does a good job of kind of showing us that, because once she sort of goes over the side and gets a scuba gear, then she's got to swim out, and then she's got to backtrack and get to the cabin. and her car runs out of gas, so she has to walk. And I like how he incorporated the detail that she remembered everything, but she forgot shoes. So her feet are like...
Or to put fucking gas in her car.
Or put gas in her car.
Let's be honest here. Like, it was kind of a genius plan, but there were a lot of problems with that plan.
There were.
First of all, she didn't... So, this is on a sailboat, right? She affixes her scuba gear to be... so that she can snatch it quickly when she goes into the water. She attaches it to the rudder.
Yeah.
It does not occur to her that perhaps they would need the rudder. That Alice's father is, I guess, the skipper of this particular expedition. It doesn't occur to her until she's already in the water that he may have needed to use the engine to get out of the harbor. Yeah. Now, for some reason, he didn't. Which, I don't know much about sailing, but I feel like you can't just use wind to get out of a harbor. I feel like you do need to at least motor out a ways. Yeah. But shit like that. Shit like she forgot to put gas in her car. Shit like she forgot shoes. Shit like she didn't think what was going to happen when she showed up at school and people were going to be like, where the fuck were you? Like, and weren't going to ask questions at all, especially since it did end up in the news. Mm-hmm. She would have ended up in the news. Like, let's say that her plan went off without a hitch, and Kirk didn't die. Mm-hmm. It was going to be on the news, because the only reason it was on the news was because she went overboard, and so did Kirk. Yeah. So, it was still going to be on the news. She was still going to get in fucking trouble for that. Yeah. Which leads me to my next point. Jane is the first character that we've had that really fucked something up. Yeah. Like, truly fucked something up. Yeah. So first of all, her revenge plot, not great. Mm-hmm. Secondly, she killed Sharon. She didn't mean to. Yeah. But she killed Sharon. She thought Sharon was... I don't know if she thought Sharon was Alice or who she thought Sharon was. But she was the one that bashed Sharon's head in because she thought that Sharon was trying to attack her. It wasn't the fire that killed Sharon. Yeah. And she thinks she killed Kirk, but she didn't. Well, I mean, she's the impetus for this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Like, she doesn't construct this plot, and Alice is an opportunist, and she takes the opportunity Jane hands her. Totally. But, I mean, and I think maybe that's why I like Jane, is because I don't dislike Jane. I'm just saying she's our first protagonist. It's kind of a fuck-up.
Yeah, well, I like her as a main character, because she's not like, if you look at so far our main female protagonists, I mean, they've had their issues, but they've basically been like, in terms of their decision making, they've always made the right choices, more or less. I mean, when it comes right down to it, like, Laura was always doing the right thing in Slumber Party. She really was. Like, Shani was always doing the right thing in Weekend. Melanie, more or less, especially considering she was fighting a murder charge, pretty much, like, kept along the straight and narrow. I mean, there was not a lot of deviation in terms of their characters. And it was the same thing in Spellbound. I mean, people were resourceful, and when they were sort of put in a position where their back was against the wall, they maybe made some hard choices, but I don't think Jane does things impulsively in a way that I think is interesting, because in a way it makes her more realistic. Because there are moments where I think it's like, you're not going to make the right choice all the time. Like, in other words, and I mean this is no disrespect if anyone's listening to this who actually is like 17 or 18, but there's the idea that, like, again, I think he's exaggerating because it's fiction and that's what makes it interesting. But there's the idea of, like, you make a bad choice and there were repercussions for it. And this takes that idea and just blows it, like, up all the way. Out of the water. Right, but it's a story, so you got to make it interesting. But I think the basic premise is that, you make one bad choice, then everything just goes to hell. And then she spends the rest of the book trying to figure out how to fix it, basically, which... She doesn't really, can't, because he can't unkill people. Right. Yeah.
And which is probably why we don't have an epilogue, because there is because the thing is that if we're speaking realistically, both Alice and Jane are going to be held accountable. Yep. And I don't think, and I don't know, if we ever get the opportunity to ask, I would be curious to know if the reason that there is no epilogue is because the protagonist would have to be held accountable. And accountability in this perspective, she'd probably go to jail. I mean, she did kill Sharon, unless she doesn't cop to that, which she could.
Right. Yeah. Although you could, if she got a decent lawyer, she could probably...
She could pin that on Alice.
Yeah. I mean, the reason she hit Sharon in the first place was because Alice... I think she thought she was coming for her, and then Alice started shooting at her. Alice was there and started shooting at her. So,
this is something that I may have missed in the book, and maybe you can provide some clarity.
Sure.
We know why Sharon was there, because it was her parents' cabin, and Sharon was supposed to meet her there anyway.
Yeah, they were supposed to rendezvous together, yeah.
Is it presumed that the reason Sharon was running around in the house in the dark was that she was also trying to escape the gunfire? That she just showed up there, and she was like, oh, what the fuck? And then she just happened to get, fucking brained.
Yeah. Yeah, because remember, the whole thing with Sharon is she doesn't have a car.
Right,
she's lost her license. Yeah, and so at some point in that movement, in that series of scenes where, and it happens pretty quick, but somewhere in there when Jane, after she's hit her, and they're kind of stuck, and she's trying to like figure out what to do with her because Alice is still shooting at her, and then she throws, essentially, I think it's like a Molotov cocktail in the house. So then the house
is exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Then. I think Jane has a couple of periods of like inner monologue, and I think at some point she says something to the effect of, it would have taken Sharon longer because she had to bike, and then she would have ditched the bike and walked the rest of the way. Because the house, remember, sits on basically, like, it's not easy to get to. It sits on like a... And so I think the idea was by the time she showed up, things were already like... going sideways, and then she was freaking out, and then Jane was freaking out, and then nobody was thinking, and Jane, thought that she was trying to hurt her, and then she hit her. And I mean, I was saying this to Ashley beforehand, that whole sequence with her and Sharon, I found particularly heartbreaking, because I was like, when she figures out that there's no way she's going to be able to get her out of that house, like... She can't get the two of them out. I'm just like, oh God, this is depressing. And then the moment where she climbs into the bathtub with her, and that's where he leaves it. And I'm just like, I mean, for that
Sharon's
chapter.
already dead,
right?
And I'm like, point. Oh, it's established that Sharon doesn't die from smoke inhalation or being burned to death.
Yeah.
It's that the blow that she took to the head that Jane gave her is what killed her. My God.
Yeah, I know.
And then, of course, they find the charred body and they think it's Jane, because Jane, in all of her trauma and burned feet.
Yeah.
Once she figures out that Alice is the one that orchestrated this entire clusterfuck, finds the time to go into town to the dentist's office, switch her dental records with Sharon, so that when they find Sharon's body, they think they found Jane, because Jane's thinking, that'll at least buy me, shit, that would have bought her days.
Yeah.
And the fact that after all of that, losing your boyfriend, being attacked, accidentally killing your best friend, setting a fucking house on fire, well, she didn't set it on fire, but being in a house fire, that she was just like, you know what I'm gonna fucking do? I'm going to let them think that fucking charcoal briquette that used to be Sharon, I'm going to wander into town, switch out the records so that they think that that's me. I can't believe that she made that leap. And I mean, I know, suspension of disbelief, but I'm just kind of like, I got to that part and I was like, for real though. And then she broke into Alice's house and hid in a closet.
She sure did.
Her
revenge. But you know what that reminds me of? That whole thing with the dental records? Because I had the same reaction. I was like, this is some straight up like CSI bullshit. Like, she has like gone to town.
I mean, it was smart. It worked, and it would have worked. Yeah.
It would have. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when freaking Cindy had the foresight to take the gun and the damn dog and the parrot to meet Joni. I remember reading that and being like...
A truly genius plan.
Right?
Truly.
So, yeah, I mean, and things went sideways there, too, because the problem with plans is that they never really, especially when you're dealing
with... But they didn't with her. They went exactly the way she thought they would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she walked in fully expecting to die.
Yeah.
We're talking about Spellbound, folks.
Yeah.
She walked in fully expecting to die, and instead her plan went off.
It actually worked. Yeah. And I mean, Jane's plan works for what she wants it to do. Like, it gives her time, which is because she wants Alice. Like, she wants to know what the score is. And the way that she pulls Alice into the freaking closet and then, like...
chloroforms her?
Yeah, chloroforms her. I'm like, wow.
Okay, again, listeners, settle a score for me. Is chloroform something that dentists have? Because if they do, I don't like that.
I don't either, but I can see it.
Because that's where she gets the chloroform from.
Yeah.
She gets the cocaine.
Yeah, for her feet, too.
For her feet. For the pain relief, which, again... radical.
Right, yeah.
But again, and she gets the chloroform from Alice's father's, again, a dentist, supplies.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here reading this going, why the fuck does a dentist have chloroform when they have laughing gas?
Oh, I'm sure they have all kinds of stuff.
But
I don't know. But
I don't know. I want to find out because I don't really know how
you feel about that? I mean, why does he have freaking tanks of laughing gas in his freaking pool house?
Is that what that was?
Yeah. It was like their guest house. And I'm like, why?
Or was it just gas? See, I didn't know if maybe it was like propane.
I thought it was
But they did go loopy. But I thought maybe they were going loopy because they were being suffocated to death.
Maybe.
Which we were talking about this before we started recording. The fucking, like, gas drunk back and forth between Jane and Alice, like, before the end of the book, is really just A+.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can picture it so perfectly when Alice is like, I want to light a candle. I like red candles. And I'm like, everyone has that drunk friend who's just like, I want to craft when they're hammered.
Yeah.
And just, like, reaching and grasping at shit, and then, like, just the not acknowledging how serious this entire situation is, but kind of, because, like, Jane keeps smacking the matches out of Alice's hands.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Is laughing gas flammable? I can look this up.
I would think so. It's gas, right? I mean, if it's coming...
nitrous, right?
Yeah, if it's an aerosol, I would think so. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to test it.
No. We have the inner... Okay, so nitrous oxide. Yeah, here it is. Medical nitrous oxide is a non-flammable gas, but is a very strong oxidant. It will strongly support and intensify combustion, and it may react violently with combustible materials such as oil and grease.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to poke holes in your story, Christopher.
No,
Pike, I
mean,
remember
we're
reading
learning
that and just being like, hold up. But yeah, that back and forth. And then we find out why Alice was so fucked off.
Yeah, folks, I actually have opened this to you, and I would like to read you a piece of this because
please do.
It's really good.
It's astounding. All right, hang on. I have my wine glass in my hand. I'm ready. Proceed.
Okay, so this is on page 147. I'm just looking for a good place to start. So Alice and Jane have been going back and forth here for a minute, so they are high. Because the gas has been rolling, and they are rolling, and as a result. So, okay, we'll start with poor Alice. Alice began to cry. My father told me boys will give you things. I should have listened to my father. Jane frowned, trying to put it all together. The only thing Kirk had owned was his truck, and he had never given that to Alice. Did he give it to you for Christmas? Alice cried harder, taking another match out of the tiny cardboard box. I don't know when. He just gave it to me. He had to get rid of it so he could get another girlfriend. Did he wrap it up for you? No, you don't wrap up a disease. Jane gasped. The shock of the revelation cleared her mind somewhat. This was it right here. The absolute, unadulterated truth behind all truths. Oh my. You two had sex? Oh boy. Alice literally screamed at her. No, we didn't. All he did was give me a kiss. A bad kiss. She pointed to the sores on her lips. See these? He gave me these. Her face fell. And I can't get rid of them. But they're just cold sores. Who cares? Just cold sores. They're herpes sores. I've got a venereal disease, she moaned pitifully. No one will ever kiss me again. I'll have to keep them for the rest of my life. Jane started laughing. She couldn't help herself. Even with Alice weeping her heart out beside her, she couldn't stop. You dumb broad. Don't you know anything? Your dad's a dentist, for God's sake. You should know all about viruses. my god, it's so good.
Folks. Alice decided to kill Kirk and then also kill Jane because she got cold sores.
I love it.
Like, building up to that whole thing, you're like, boys give you stuff. I'm like, oh no, he got her pregnant. And
right.
Like a whole thing.
Or like
Christian father. Like,
chlamydia
or it, literally
Yeah,
anything.
anything. Yeah.
No. Fucking cold sores.
Cold sores. God, I
that
love
she could get literally anywhere.
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 Anywhere. And the idea that she was like, he had to give it to me so he could get rid of it.
Because that's how VD works, folks.
Right? Oh my god.
You gotta give your herpes to someone else.
Oh my
so
god.
You don't have it anymore. Oh my god.
I love, I would also just like to say that the reason that I read to the point that I read to is I had to get the dumb broad comment in there because I
well,
really
of course.
love that.
Because first of all, dumb broad is just a great.
It's a gem. Really.
It's a gem. A plus. A plus. But I remember reading to that point and I was like, the fuck? You're kidding me. All of this.
I know.
The stealing of the diary. And
oh my god.
Making sure that Patty Brain saw it. And then.
Yep. And the laughing gas in the tank.
And the laughing gas.
Yeah.
And the fucking setting Sharon's parents' house
on fire.
All of that.
I know.
All of it. Cold sores.
I know.
All of it was for cold sores.
I know.
All of it.
I know. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
It's so good.
10 out of 10.
It's so good. And then since we're here, so because there's no epilogue, just we're here. So I do want to say that the end of this book, and as Ashley and I have been talking about, and the fact that there is no epilogue is slightly disheartening. And I would also like to say that we keep making a call for this. I figure if we do it long enough and have enough episodes, somebody's going to take us out up on it rather. But like this would also be another one perfect for fan fiction, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my god, please resolve this story.
Yeah.
Because like can we have a cage match between Jane and Alice both
right?
in fucking prison?
Right.
Because they both fucked up supremely.
Because they both
like
yeah.
Jane committed murder accidentally but also faked her death, and then Alice actually killed someone.
Yeah.
And committed arson.
Right. I know. But
like,
I did.
It got to the end and with like the cop and like is shoving Alice's dad in the pool because
I love
fuck
that.
You, Dad.
I
Fuck
love
you,
that.
Dad. And
I
like,
love that.
I've been thinking about you all night, Jane Renton, and I'm sitting here going, hold up.
I know.
Wait a minute. So there's just no resolution here, is there?
No.
Kirk's dead.
Yeah.
Patty Brain is still going to go on to bully people till the end of time.
Yep.
Sharon's dead.
Yep.
Sharon, the beloved sidekick.
I know.
Another sidekick bites the dust.
I know. And I did like Sharon.
And fucking Jane and Alice are just gonna
go off.
I don't even know. They're just not gonna be held accountable because I feel like Kirk's parents would have grounds for a civil suit. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that might be something else that will be interesting to see as we move forward, is if we ever do, like with these books that are a little more, that have a very kind of clearly defined conflict and then move through to resolve that conflict. It'll be very interesting to see if we ever do see any of that. Mm-hmm. Because I just wonder if we will. Because I can't remember. And
I
so,
demand a Gimme A Kiss sequel, and it is Jane and Alice in prison.
Yeah, I mean, it is some banana. You know what I just realized when you said Sharon and sidekicks? This is random, but this is how my brain works. You know how in Spellbound we were talking about how that scene we really liked with Ray when he was eating donuts before the cross-country meet? Sharon is also eating donuts in this book.
Oh.
Yeah. Poor Ray and Sharon. Poor Ray.
Ray and Sharon, you donut-loving freaks.
Yeah, let's just do like a quick call out to all the sidekicks who either got offed or just didn't get their due time. So Ray and Sharon, we're so sorry. Pam, Dana,
donuts in the afterlife.
Right? Dana from freaking Slumber Party, because I love Dana, and she basically disappears halfway through the book. We never see her again until the end. Bert and Weekend. And
Bert.
Yeah.
I just remembered Bert. Oh my god.
Right? I love Bert. Bert is still like one of my standouts. Yeah. He's one of my favorites. But yeah, I'm hoping that also in future books, maybe something to look forward to when we take a look at Scavenger Hunt, because I remember zip about that book. Honestly, Ashley, I'm not even sure I read this book. I may not have.
So wait, did you read Gimme a Kiss prior?
I did,
Okay,
but
so
I
we
didn't.
might be encroaching on territory,
Yeah.
Brie territory.
Yeah. Well, there are ones that I skipped in the chronology. I don't think I meant to, but I got a lot of these out of the library, so I just read whatever was available. So I don't think I read Scavenger Hunt because I don't think we had it. And Gimme a Kiss, I didn't remember any of it really, except that Jane's name was Jane. And there was a boat and a vague idea about a diary, but I didn't remember anything and Scavenger Hunt I don't remember anything about. But I did want to do I just wanted to highlight two particular angst alerts from the start of the book that I liked because there were some real gems in here. And
for the record, the entire book is a fucking thirst alert.
The
entire book is just set upon the theme of Jane wanted to bang Kirk.
Bad.
Because she's a teenage girl and she wants to bang her hot boyfriend, which is fine.
Yeah.
But being that is the impetus for this entire thing that happened, the book is just one big categorical thirst alert.
It is.
So.
Yeah, it really is. Although I think we should make thirst alert a thing because
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do it.
But I have this interaction with Jane and Patty at the beginning because I feel like it just really gives you an idea of who Patty is. So this is on page 37 towards the bottom. And this is after we've learned that Patty hates Jane because she wrote that mean thing about her in the school newspaper. I've got a new lipstick for the game, Janie, Patty said at her back. Going to be looking awfully pretty tonight. Hope you're planning on coming. I'm working, Jane said flatly, thinking, Kirk can't be interested in Patty. He has me. Why would he want a tall, curvaceous blonde who drops her pants at the drop of a hat? Jane decided to stop thinking. She was depressing herself. It doesn't matter, Patty said, placing her black shoe next to Jane's arm, lightly dusting the sleeve of Jane's new white blouse. You'll be seeing me all weekend. You and your boyfriend. Will you be writing an article about our little adventure by any chance? Only if something exciting happens, Jane said. Patty giggled and leaned so close that Jane could feel her gum-chewing breath on her cheek. And what would you consider exciting? How about if I caught a big fish? And what if, say, I took this gorgeous fish to a secret part of the islands and ate my fill? Would that be worth putting in print, Janie? I suppose if you choked on his bones, yes. Oh, I love it. Okay. And then the other one, I love it. And then the other one that I had was after everything's gone to hell in a handbasket with the diary. And this is just a short one between Kirk and Jane, but it's a goodie. Because I feel like if this were a movie, this would be like one of the main moments. Patty had spread the word true, but Kirk, her boyfriend, had given the word strength. Jane's voice was like ice. You didn't deny it because you wanted everyone to think it was true. No, that's not so. It is. Hey, you're being unfair. You're the one who wrote it. He looked at her for the first time. Why did you? You're right. Why did I? Jane, you're never going to kiss me again. But she slapped him across the face, hard enough to snap his head back. Her hand stung with pain, and she welcomed it. Never, she repeated, leaving him with blood trickling from his nose. The blood reminded her of the red spots on Easter, of her lingering anxiety about the cat. Perhaps her subconscious had been trying to warn her of another monster that was about to pounce. Or perhaps the blood had been an omen of things to come. So yeah, you gotta get a good slap in there.
Of course. I mean, why not? If you can't slap your boyfriend, what's the point?
Yeah, who can you slap? But those were some good moments from the start.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. I know. But it was super fun, everybody. Like
totally.
If you're looking for a fun way to kill an hour or two.
Which, let's face it, you do need to kill a few hours here and there, folks.
Yeah.
You're under quarantine like the rest of us.
Pick this book up because it is a good time. And it's funny, when I teased this, I mentioned that we were recording soon, and I threw this up on our Instagram account. Follow us, everybody. Pike's on Pike. It's a good time. People were saying that people have a lot of love for this book. Like, people like this book, which I think is cool. Of course, people also like Tachyon Web, so I'm not sure if I trust everybody's
judgment. So maybe I don't care about your opinion, public.
I'm just kidding. But people had some specific... This one is one that people have mentioned a lot, and then the other one, Remember Me.
And we were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here. You know, we like to do a Spotify playlist.
Oh, yes.
For every book, but we've had like 3 in a fucking row from 1988. We were running out of top hits. So I did some research for you folks.
Right.
And I came up though, truly, with some bangers.
So, I'm excited.
Firstly, at the very top of the list, which, for the record, was a song that my husband was singing to one of our cats yesterday.
Nice.
For some reason, I don't really understand why. Toy Soldiers by Martika.
Oh my God, that song.
I mean, it is a great song.
It's
so
a great
good that
song.
Eminem felt the need to sample it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Also, Seasons Change by Expose.
I love that song.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Listen to Your Heart by Roxette.
Nice.
Don't Worry, Be Happy by Bobby McFerrin, which I put, and I'm going to put this on the Spotify playlist for this very reason only. Because it was a song that came to mind and seems like a fitting kind of soundtrack if we were going to make this into a movie. It seems like a fitting song to have playing in the background as Jane is scuba-ing away from the sailboat that she has just thrown herself off of, thinking that her revenge plan is about to go perfectly. Don't worry, be happy.
Right.
Every Day is Like Sunday by Morrissey.
Nice.
Which, I mean, yes. Even though, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to comment on Morrissey. But, no, but the song is great.
It is, and he's the epitome of angst, so I mean,
it really is.
Yeah.
Under the Milky Way by The Church.
Nice.
Which is kind of a spooky song. Also, Where Is My Mind by the Pixies. Did not know that song came out in 1988.
I didn't either.
Where is my mind? Something that probably Alice should be asking herself, being that she thinks that cold sores are A, VD, and B, some kind of ill-gotten gift that boys give you, but whatever. There She Goes by The Laws.
Aww.
She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals.
That's a great song, too.
Another great song. Straight Up by Paula Abdul.
Oh, God.
Also, forgot to look this up. I might be wrong about this, though. Buffalo Stance?
Okay.
By Nina Cherry?
I don't know that song.
Yes, you do.
I do.
But that one might not be 1988.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, folks. But Buffalo Stance, and yes, Brie, you know that song.
Okay.
Take my word for it.
I probably just don't know what it's called, which is like the story of my life.
You absolutely know it.
Okay.
Cold Hearted by Paula Abdul.
Oh, God, that whole album.
Shake Your Thing by Salt and Pepper.
Nice!
And that brings us to the end of the
yay.
Spotify playlist. Because I was like, you know what? I hit on like every top 40 or like top single of 1988, and if I'm pretty sure that if I say get out of my dreams, get into my car one more time, people are going to be like, bitch, is this the same episode?
Well, luckily, and this is a good segue, I suppose, because luckily Scavenger Hunt gets us into 1989.
Oh, thank God.
Although I
a
will
new Billboard chart to work with.
Right? I will tell you this. I was looking earlier when I was like, people were talking about Remember Me. I was looking at Wikipedia because it has his publication list, which is what I use to determine what books I need to order. And I was like, why is Remember Me not on here? And this is why. Because the way that Wikipedia has it is it's his works of young adult fiction, his standalone stuff, and then as you scroll through the standalone stuff, we get the series. So we get Chain Letter, which the original Chain Letter came out in 86, which is...
There's a cat in your office.
I know there is. I'm so sorry. Listeners, this is my cat Gerda who is talking. Sorry. And she's just appeared out of nowhere, so she's probably going to be loud for a second. But my point is the Remember Me, I forgot he wrote a sequel. There's 3 of those. And so the first one came out in 1989. But then the third one came out in 94 and the third one came out in 1995, but they weren't listed as the standalones, so that's why I didn't see Remember Me. But I think we will do those. Because we're gonna do all the standalones first, and then we'll get into the series.
I think I have the first Final Friends book.
Yeah,
So we could work on that one, because here's the thing, folks, is that we bought these books, right? Because most of them, or at least the early ones, are not available digitally.
Right.
So we had to order them secondhand, which is fine, except that, again, everyone's under fucking quarantine. So there's a very real chance that we might get to a point where we might order another, 5 books.
Yeah.
But we might not be able to get them in time. So we're going to play that one by ear.
We'll see. Well, we'll do scavenger hunt, and then we'll order some people, and we'll see where we are. And then maybe if we don't get any right away, we can do a mini-sode about some of the things we've been talking about.
We have a mini-sode. Yeah. We actually already had a mini-sode planned, and then we just never...
We never did it.
So we could always revisit that shit.
Yeah. In the meantime, we do have scavenger hunt. So we do. I will tell you, I will read you the front. Hopefully my cat won't meow. And then I will read you the back. So scavenger hunt. Pray they don't find what they're looking for. Ooh.
Sounds like a shitty scavenger hunt.
I know, right? And then on the back it says, the hunt was on. School was almost over. A secretive club on campus had organized a scavenger hunt for the entire senior class. In small groups and with the help of cleverly planted clues, the kids are led throughout the city and then deep into the nighttime desert. The sponsoring club has promised a wonderful prize for the first group to reach the goal of the hunt. But for Carl Timmons, a troubled young man who has recently lost his best friend, the hunt will become a nightmare. Led astray by his love for a strangely beautiful girl, he will wander far from the others and back into the haunted past, where the line between the living and the dead is blurred and broken. Whoa. Also, male protagonist.
So what did we fucking learn, though, from Spellbound people? Those mysteriously beautiful women.
Yeah.
Fucking watch out, okay?
I know, right?
And now we're talking about, the border between life and death. Come on, man.
I know.
Don't go dating a spirit.
I know. But we're going to get another ensemble cast, a real one, I think. And also, we get a guy, which we haven't had a guy.
Point. Well, yeah, Alex was half. Yeah. He was a half half-tagonist.
Yeah, he's like Park and Weekend, sort of. But we haven't had a dude, except in Tachyon Web. So let's hope the scavenger hunt... Let's hope the scavenger hunt
That's
redeems.
Why I didn't remember it.
Yeah, exactly. It took me a second, because I was and I couldn't tell you his name. I can't remember it.
Oh, who needs to know? I'm sorry, but I don't like that book.
No, I didn't like it either. But scavenger hunt, I think, will be cool.
Well, on that note, folks.
Follow us on Instagram. Hit us up on Facebook. We've got a website. Check out our Spotify playlists. We'll be sharing those as well. If you would really love us, we would love you forever if you would rate and review our podcast. That would be cool. Otherwise, we will be back here, probably still under quarantine.
Yeah, probably.
With Scavenger Hunt. So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time.